Welcome to the Girl at a Bar podcast. I'm Tracy Mulholland. My guests went out to a bar alone, had to stay for 90 minutes minimum, and couldn't look at their phone. We talk about their night and how they can use this experience to get out of their comfort zone in other ways. So your cats are joining us for this podcast?
Well, he might. He's was never a snuggler until recently, and whenever I sit at my desk, he's usually comes right up to get on my lap. But he was being a bitey little meanie, so
hopefully we'll hear some meows because that's always fun.
Yeah, he might be headed back this way. I'm not sure.
Alrighty. Well, I'm talking to my friend Kate, who, if you've seen the Girl at a Bar series, played the woman friend in the bathroom, which was a really, really fun scene. Yeah. We've been friends for quite a minute. And you also have your Lyme story and your experience with Lyme, which I definitely want to jump into as well. So very happy to have you today to talk about going out. Spoiler alert, Kate has some great stories about going out and being a girl at a bar in Japan as well. So we'll dive into that also.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. Yes, old friends.
Well, let's dive into the night here in Los Angeles. And where did you go? Why did you go there? Tell me what happened.
Okay. I went to the Formosa Cafe because I was taking care of my boyfriend's dog. He was out of town, and so it was like an easy walk, basically. And it's like a classic Hollywood bar that I've been to a few times, but not in a long time. And I remembered at one point I thought it had closed down, but then it reopened, whatever. Yeah, it was packed. It was a Saturday night. And the bartender was mean to me.
Uh-oh.
It's fine. But I sat at the bar and I was one stool away from these two women, and he asked me to scoot over so in case somebody wanted to dine there. And I was like, but they're the closest people to me who I could possibly talk to. Why? So that was awkward for a bit. I ordered a drink. I looked around, and then I finally, nobody sat down in those seats that he cleared for dining. So I finally just kind of scooted over, and I was like, hey, is it okay if I talk to you guys?
Aw, I feel like that's what I asked you in the show. Is it okay if I hang out with you?
Yeah.
So they said yes.
Yeah. They were great. And they were two friends from work who had never gone out together to have some girl time. Got to know them. One of them lives near me, has a dog. So she's like, if you're ever taking him to the park or anything, we can meet up. So anyway, we just started chatting and becoming friends. And then they had dinner reservations across the street at Jones and invited me. So I joined them for food. I had already eaten, but I got another drink and picked at their food a little bit. But that's when I texted you, which I think was past the time limit, but I did forget about that rule anyway. But I texted you. I was like, I think I made 2 BFFs. Now, I have not talked to either of them since, but we had a nice night.
I was so excited to get that text. I think there was a lot of exclamation marks. And then I think I thought, wait a second, are you allowed to be using your phone? But I think you were in the clear at that point. Was there any memorable things that they said, quotes? Did you learn anything about their jobs or life?
We talked about boys a little bit, dished advice back and forth. And just had a really nice time. Followed each other on Instagram. And again, one time when I was at the park with the dog, she messaged me and was like, I know that park. Next time, let's go together. So I'm going to try to remember to do that. She was really nice. I walked her. She lived right by there, too. So I walked her all the way to her apartment before going back to where I was staying.
Yeah. How many times do you think you've been to Jones since you've been in LA?
Jones I've been to a lot because my acting class used to be right down the street. And they were so close. Everybody was such good friends. It was taught by Tom Irwin, if you know who he is. He is an interesting guy. He's one of the original members of Steppenwolf in Chicago, and he was the dad on My So-Called Life, which was really exciting for me when I first started taking his class. I was like, oh my god, it's Graham Chase. He's in the morning show recently, but he loved that class. He loved to go out for a whiskey after that class. So we used to go every Monday night, pretty much. But I haven't been in years because that was forever ago. And then that car drove through it. Do you remember that?
Formosa or Jones?
Jones, a car drove into the restaurant. A drunk driver slammed into it, and they were closed for a super long time. And they had put a big sign on the wall saying, "We are not a drive-through."
I vaguely remember that, but I haven't been since before the pandemic either. And it is one of those Hollywood staples, I feel like, in West Hollywood. And
Definitely.
just the feel of it and the lighting and the look, everything. I used to go there, I would say probably maybe a dozen, double dozen, 25 times maybe I've been there.
In the last like 5, 6 years, once that night. But now
Yes.
it's open again. We should go. It's great. You're so right. It is like really cool lighting, really cool atmosphere. Lots of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So you had fun. So the 90 minutes didn't feel too long, I'm assuming.
Oh no, it was a great night. Yeah, I was thrilled. Thank you for the
Yeah.
assignment.
So when you were in Japan, though, did you look at your phone or were you too engrossed in the experiences that you didn't need to?
I wasn't looking at my phone much. It was so freaking incredibly fun. So I walked by my first day in Osaka. I had already made great friends in Tokyo and oh my god, no, in Tokyo and Kyoto. I made friends with these on my last night in Tokyo. I made some friends at a bar, and the one of the guys had just moved from Kyoto and told me like that his girlfriend worked at a restaurant and that I should go there. And he got my email and he emailed me like things to do and where to go. So I walked to that restaurant the first night, expecting to be like, "Hey, do you know who so and so's girlfriend is?" Because he never told me her name. But like, I walked
Mm,
into the restaurant and she was like the hostess, and she just immediately went, "Kate-san," and I was like, "What?" She knew I was.
amazing.
Because yeah, I guess he had sent a picture of the four of us, like four people who were hanging out that night. So anyway, but Osaka, I got there and I walked by this little bar that I was very interested in because of its name.
Okay.
Its name was Super Jap. I was like, this is problematic for a couple reasons for Americans, but that's okay. And I looked inside and there was like a genderqueer person at the bar, like tending the bar. And I was like, that's amazing. I haven't seen that anywhere else in Japan. There's this guy at the end of the bar who I never learned his name. The only name I got for him was Origami-san because he was over there just making origami, and he'd pass him over and he'd be like, "Keito-san, presento," and he made me like a little tiara. He made me a little flower. He made me a black cat, and I was like, "I have a black cat. Arigato gozaimasu." And then yeah, I met some kids from Hong Kong. Um, I had a little romantic fling with one of them, in fact. Somebody knows how to solo travel. No, but that was cool because they're from Hong Kong, they spoke more English than most people did, so we could, between my Japanese and their English, like communicate like to a deeper level. Because it's like I'm conversational. I am by no means fluent.
You enjoyed going out alone in Japan. I would say probably more. Do you feel like in LA or in America you're going to go out and be girl at a bar again, or do you feel like this was just for the assignment?
I mean, I might. When I got back, I was single at the time, or I wouldn't have shared the little romantic fling. Um, but when I got back and like, I mean, we had such a lovely time together. So my mom and sister were like, well, then just start going to bars by yourself, going to bars. So I did go to a few bars by myself here, and I'd eventually like talk to somebody, but I would always just kind of walk home. It was never much of a, but I only did that like twice. So I was like, the apps are fine.
But I am excited to hear about your future Japan bar travels alone for
I
sure.
can't wait.
And then also in Ireland as well. I
Yeah,
really, really want to go with you. So therefore, we would not be going to a bar alone. But I do want to go to bars with you in Ireland because that will
I
be
can't
very
wait. I would
cool.
love it. Yeah, I went out to pubs and stuff because I performed there. I did my solo show there.
I do want to talk about that. So Kate had this amazing solo show about your experience with an eating disorder. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and then a little bit about your journey with Lyme as
Sure.
well?
Yeah, so I had so much crippling pain throughout many years of my life, but I had been anorexic, fully anorexic at multiple points, and always controlled by this eating disorder in terms of like gym addiction and restricted eating. So I always really just like thought it was all my fault because I'd be like lying on the floor, not able to move. But I'd be like, but I know I'm going to like swallow some pain pills and get my ass to the gym because I can't miss the gym. And then this like cycle of self-hate would just take over because it's like, I'm in pain, but it's all my fault. But there was a time when I was just lying on the floor and I would just tell myself, I'm just going to die before I turn 30. There's no end to this. Or at the very least, I'll be paralyzed or crippled. And I kept blaming myself. And then I just had this time of like, what can I do to make any meaning out of this waste of a life that I've been living? And because I believe in the power of storytelling and I'd seen some solo shows that have inspired me, I was like, well, maybe the only thing I can do is tell my story and see if it matters to anybody. Mm-hmm. I never felt like I'd seen eating disorders portrayed in a way that made any sense to me. Like they were always just kind of like, look at these weird starving people instead of like kind of inviting you in. And I'm a comedian. I've done a lot of sketch comedy, so I wanted to utilize sketch comedy in it. And I just wanted to get everything out there in a way that felt authentic to me. And it took years and a lot of cuts and a lot of punch-ups. And in the end, it worked. Like I got to travel all over the world doing this show. Well, not all over the world, but to all over the country and then a couple countries. But that, like I would have eating disorder psychiatrists come up to me and be like, or therapists, and I've been in practice for 20 years and I learned more watching your show tonight than I have in all those years. And I'd be like, oh, good.
I would agree with that too. I mean, I think you had a lot of focus on neuroplasticity and forming those neural pathways. And when they're formed young, that it's so hard to retrain or redirect. And I don't think I even realized that until I had been half a decade into Lyme, learning about neural pathways.
I'm also like a nerd like that. So yeah, man, I got really nervous because the second time I went to Ireland, I think the second time I performed it in Ireland, I was staying with an actual brain surgeon. And so I was like, oh God, he's going to come see the show. What if I do something wrong? About like, cause I play this little neurologist who's like, ooh, synapses connecting, ooh, fat is bad, this, that, and the other. But he said it was great. I felt very good about that.
So you were feeling like the pain that you were feeling in your body and your nerves and muscles and bones and everything was from having an eating disorder, from nutrition deficiencies and from exercising too much. Yeah. But then it turned out that element of your experience was Lyme.
Correct. So I was able to get over this thing that had been a part of my life for more than 20 years. Because doing the show, it was a present tense show. Like the eating disorder, it's not like, and then everybody ate cake, yay. It was like the through line is talking about it and not being ashamed of it. Because I was just so ashamed of all this stuff for so long. It was the scariest thing I ever did. Because like half the people close to me had no idea. People would ask me after the show, like, how can we help people? Like I have a cousin with a similar situation, or like my daughter or whatever. And they'd ask me advice for how to help such people. And I was like, I obviously don't know. I don't know if you saw the show, but like, it's still my life. I have no clue. But I started to feel like a pressure to figure it out. So then I did do a lot of deep diving into like how to rewire your brain, how to like the history and horribleness of why we have these body standards in the first place. And so eventually I was able to eat more and rest my body and not work out every single day. And I was still in pain all the time. So I went to Hawaii, and I don't know if this is true for you, but I learned later, like altitude can really affect Lyme. And we went up to the top of this volcano, Haleakala, and you hike down into it and then you hike back up. But like by the time we were up at the top of that mountain, I couldn't move. I was in so much pain. So I had to wait in the car while all of them got to go on this hike that I missed. Like we were above the clouds, like it was super high. But that's when I was like laying there and I was like, what if something else is wrong? It's like, what if something else is wrong with me? And I just like, I promised my body, I was like, I'm going to figure out what it is because I want to go to Hawaii and hike every volcano. Darn it. Oh. And right, like as soon as I made that decision, my parents called me. There was a newsletter in this place that we went to. It's a rural deer filled place that we went to. every summer of my life. And they put out this little like bulletin. They call it the Patter. And they were like, Kate, we were reading this, and the article was Lyme has come to Palisades, or Lyme is in Palisades. That's what it's called. And they're like, we're reading all of this, and it just sounds so much like you. And like in that moment, all the little people who have suggested that throughout the course of my life were like echoing in my head. You are one of them for sure. Because I used to hate going to like eating disorder support groups, because I'd be like, oh, and all the pain, and everyone would be like, it's okay. And I was like, what? But then I'd go to like chronic pain support groups, and
Mm-hmm.
I loved those. But again, like many times, somebody else there would have Lyme, and they'd be like, "Are you sure you don't have Lyme?" And I would always be like, "No, no, 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 no. You were innocently bitten by a tick. I did this to myself, so it's okay." But that's because I had been tested for it. A physical therapist asked me about it, so in very short order, I was diagnosed with Lyme.
When you had been tested for it, do you remember, was it a Western blot
No,
or
it
an
was the ELISA, I'm
Elysium?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
like so dumb. Like that test only works if you've been bitten like within the past 20 or 30 days, because it's testing for your immune response to Lyme. But obviously, Lyme has been living healthfully in my body for a long time, so my immune system isn't going to react to that. And this is what's so scary too. Is then when I went to one Lyme clinic, and they gave me the Western blot, and I had like 2 bands, and you're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
have 3. And so, but everything I understood is that that one's not that great either, that it should be a clinical diagnosis. So when they were supposed to be this great Lyme place, and when I only had 2 bands on this Western blot, they were like, okay, I'm sorry, you don't have Lyme. And I was just like, okay, I thought you were supposed to be Lyme literate doctors who know that these tests aren't amazing. And then I
Mm-hmm.
found this doctor in Florida who had me take like 4 different Chinese herbs for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then he had me take the test again, and boom, I had 3 bands. So like whatever he did stirred up the Lyme enough for me to, and then he gave me some other tests too, but in the end, it worked out. If I didn't know from like you and other people that these tests don't always work, I would just be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's not Lyme, back to pain. So I have a CDC clinical diagnosis of Lyme. However, it's still like
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks of antibiotics and you're better, right? No.
Yeah. And at that point, it'd been probably a couple decades that you've been dealing with it almost.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I started reading about it. I read it can cause OCD, which I have. I've read it can
Mm-hmm.
freaking cause anorexia, and then I like, threw the book across the room. So I was like, stop rewriting my life.
I think that I had it because I got bit, I know for sure, in college, my freshman year. But I lived near the state forest. I lived in Connecticut. So there
No.
were multiple opportunities. And because ticks are so tiny, probably could have been bit without seeing it, as is very common as well, right? But I had really bad TMJ in high school
Me too.
and in my jaw, so jaw pain. And I was playing the saxophone in the band, and then all of a sudden, I just couldn't grip the saxophone anymore and I couldn't
Oh,
play at all.
oh.
And I remember at the time thinking, okay, well, I guess some people just can't play instruments because their jaws aren't strong enough or something. I don't know. And I did have a dentist at the time who kind of called it out and said, that's not actually normal.
Yeah.
You should be able to do these things. And I think that we need to look into this further. So I think I probably had it since then, which was freshman year of high school. So maybe even before that, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I was a fat kid, so I was on diets by the time I was 10, but like the full blown anorexia thing happened around between like 12 to like by 14. Like, and my appendix, I had appendicitis when I was 12, and like slowly I got
Mm.
like crazier and more extremely anorexic by the time I was 14. And I don't know then if it was like the 12. I also went to camp every year in Brown County, where there's also tons of Lyme, and we slept in the woods and stuff. So it could have been then, but then I kind of got better in high school for a little bit. And then I like lost my mind freshman year of college, like lost my mind. But they also put me on birth control. So I thought birth control made me lose my mind. Like so
Mhm.
sick, couldn't digest anything, couldn't eat a cracker, so stressed out. Everything was life or death. Um, so they put me on an antidepressant for the first time then, but like I'm after that is when all the pain started happening. Like I didn't have the pain before, but after
Mhm.
that I lost use of my knees. There was a time when I couldn't use my hands like at all. I lost use of my elbows over time. So I don't know if it was like sometime in college or if it was that
Mm.
earlier time. Not that it really matters at this point, but it's just like an
Right, of
instant.
course. I think it's similar for so many people with Lyme. You go back through, and I had these neck spasms in my 20s, and that was unexplainable. I was, quote, lactose intolerant in college, but was I really, or did I just have bad digestion from Lyme? And it was so many systems it affects. And
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
anyway, well, I always ask everybody what you do after a night out. What are your rituals, routines when you get in from a bar or anything?
Drink water, usually.
Hydrate.
Yeah. Uh, I guess it depends like how much I've had to drink. I might just wash my face, brush my teeth, and go to bed, or I might, if otherwise, what I usually do at night is like pick up a book, read for a little bit till I get sleepy, and then go to sleep.
How does your body feel when you drink these days? And is certain types of alcohol better?
For me, I prefer whiskey, but like any booze is better because like just like a liquor and because of the sugar in the wine is hard, and like the gluteny stuff in beer is hard. I can drink like a beer. For wine though, unless it's like, and this is so obnoxious, unless it's a super expensive wine, I get a headache within 2 sips. That's my
Ooh.
experience. Like I mean, I have so much nerve pain from Lyme. If I get jump scared to this day, like in traffic, if someone pulls in front of me, it's weird. It's on this delay. I'm like, and then like a second afterward, this full electrical shock goes through my whole body. It's so bizarre. Um,
Hmm.
or if I get anxiety, that happens. So again, back to your question, the wine really activates my nerves. Like my nerves start to hurt, my head starts to hurt.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
How about you?
I pretty much have given up on drinking currently. So I've been dealing with SIBO, which was probably
Yeah,
a diagnosis that I've probably been dealing with maybe even since I had Lyme or when Lyme got really bad for me. Might have been a missing piece to stomach issues for me. But it really came out very apparent last year and then took a long time to get diagnosed as that, which is very frustrating as well since we've been through
right.
so many things that
Everybody through
take a
that.
while to get a proper diagnosis. But I didn't really know anyone who had had it. And I didn't know that it was very common with Lyme and with mold exposure to have SIBO. It's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth for anyone that's listening. So I've been working on that, just actually getting things back in balance and then figuring out what my trigger foods were and some of the reasons
Right.
that made that happen. So that means no alcohol for
Of
I
course.
haven't
Yeah. No,
for over a
that's hard on
year.
your stomach, all forms of it anyway. But
Yeah, but
I,
before that, I would say probably was only drinking, a couple times a year for occasions, and I actually did okay with wine.
yeah.
I know a lot of people with Lyme do really well with tequila. I don't do as well with hard alcohol, maybe because it just hits me harder.
I was thinking of you the other day actually because I know that one of your trigger foods that you tried out recently was garlic, which didn't
Hmm.
go over well, right? You cut that out
Yeah,
of
no garlic
cut
for
that out.
Tracy for a while now.
Well, I was cooking a sweet potato dish for Thanksgiving, and it was like rosemary, salt, pepper, and garlic that you like were supposed to put in a big bowl and slather around with olive oil all the potatoes before putting them in the oven. But the garlic was behind me and I forgot it and I put it in the oven and then I saw the garlic and I was like, oh no, I forgot the garlic in the recipe. And then I was like, well, if I were going to Thanksgiving with Tracy, that'd be a good thing. But the dish was fine in the end,
Oh,
but I was really bummed out at myself.
oh, I love garlic, but yeah, it's a
I
FODMAP,
I
and
know.
so
Sorry.
yeah, it can be super aggravating for people who have had SIBO, but I'm hoping in a couple of months I'll be able to eat it again. But TBD, it's okay. I've kind of learned, and I'm sure you can relate, to just accept what you have to do for treatment for now and not go down too much in the weeds like this is forever and just accept this is temporary and I'm doing this to figure out what works for me and not get too bummed about it that I can't eat certain
Totally.
foods.
Yeah, no, you have to. And especially if you just feel better living. Like an early Lyme, My Lyme doctor was such a character. He was so funny. So he was telling me like not to eat any carbs of any kind because that will turn into that's anything. I had a hyperinflammation response. So anything that causes inflammation in a person, which like gluten and sugars do, is like 10 times as much, right? So at one point I was like, well, what about sweet potatoes? Because those are super healthy. And he's like, that's pure starch. That'll turn into sugar in your stomach in 6 minutes. And I was like, okay, sir, I won't have sweet potatoes. But yeah,
Whoa.
over time, obviously I just cooked a sweet potato dish. Like you can hope, and I'm hoping that for you too, is you can add foods back in.
Yeah. My Lyme doctor that I first worked with did no sugar, no dairy, no gluten, no soy, no caffeine, no alcohol. That was the requirement for
Yeah.
working with them. So I got used to that pretty fast. But then I've still not done dairy or gluten for the last over a decade. So it's kind of sad to have to add garlic and onion back with other things as well. But in retrospect, I'm really, really glad this
Yeah.
was caught and that I'm healing my stomach because that was never part of my treatment really before.
Sure.
And so hopefully this will make everything, that much better.
I'm knocking on all the wood for you.
Knocking on the woods. Anywho, okay. So anything else with the show? I was just really happy to have you on screen with me and have a scene together with two people with Lyme, and it's such a precious moment. I think we were bonding over our periods in the bathroom.
Gorgeous. No, I'm so proud of you for the show. The show's amazing. I was so happy I got to be a part of it. I know I got to like be a part of its development and here and there, and you freaking did it.
We did it, and thank you for being a part of it. And the final question is, in what ways can you get out of your comfort zone in another part of your life?
Well, I mean, I recently started working at schools full time for like 9th grade high school students, and that was, believe me, I was floundering in the beginning. I mean, that's just an example of pushing me out of my comfort zone, but sticking with it. I don't know, get out and do something you don't normally do. Like, I have friends who go square dancing, and I never go, but I could. I'm just always like, I don't know how to square dance. Which I know you don't have to know how to square dance because they call out what you're supposed to do, but whatever.
I would go square dancing with you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. I'd love to. That was a random example, but I highly promote solo travel. Travel in general. Go to other countries, get out, see stuff as much as you can, and like you can do it affordably. I freaking love solo travel, but you can travel with friends too. That's allowed, or loved ones.
That is permissible. Thank you. Well, we are going to travel to Ireland. It's in the books. Next 5 years.
Okay, I love it. I'm
Done.
Yeah.
All right, Kate. Thanks so much for joining me. It was a pleasure talking to you. I will see you soon.
Back at you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Girl at a Bar channel on YouTube to see video episodes of the podcast and watch the Girl at a Bar scripted series. Thanks to Andrew Hollander for producing the song, Something I Can't Rearrange. You can check out the full version on all music platforms. Please visit girlatabar.com and bayarealyme.org for resources on Lyme disease.